We spend so much of our lives staring at screens, right? But they're so flat. Something's always felt a little bit missing, that sense of depth. So today, we're going to change that. We're not just talking about design theory. We're going to learn how to actually sculpt with light and transform these flat interfaces into digital worlds that feel, well, real.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. I mean, are we just doomed to this digital flatland? As more and more of our lives shift online, are we just losing out on that tangible, believable depth that makes the physical world feel so rich?
You know that feeling when you walk into a space and you just get it? That visceral connection you feel just from the way the light carves out the forms around you? Well, that's not an accident. It is literally wired deep into our perception. It's a silent language our brains have understood forever.
Okay, so first things first, we have to move beyond this idea of a digital flatland. And that really means changing how we think about light and shadow. We have to see them not as just decoration, but as a powerful, fundamental tool.
And this shift in thinking is absolutely crucial, because when you simulate light properly, it's not just for making things look pretty. It's a core tool that makes an interface more intuitive, it makes a product on a screen feel more tangible, and believe it or not, it actually helps build trust with the user.
So if we want to convincingly mimic nature, we have to start by understanding its rules. We've kind of got to decode the source code of reality before we could even begin to write our own.
First up is the umbra. This is pretty straightforward. It's the core of the shadow, the absolute darkest part, where the light is completely obstructed. It's sharp, it's defined, it's basically the heart of the shadow. But here's where the real magic happens. The secret ingredient that really separates the amateurs from the pros is the penumbra. This is that softer, kind of fuzzy edge that surrounds the umbra. Getting this subtle softening right, that is what instantly signals to our brains that an environment is natural and believable.
This distinction leads us right to the two main types of shadows we can create. On one hand, you have hard shadows. They come from small, intense lights and have those really crisp, defined edges. They can be dramatic for sure, but they can also look a little bit dated. On the other hand, you have soft shadows. These come from big, spread-out light sources like an overcast sky. Their edges are blurred and diffuse, and honestly, they just feel way more natural and sophisticated in most digital designs today.
So we've got the physics down. Now for the fun part. How do we actually apply it? Let's boil it all down into 4 core principles for designing with light.
The first and most crucial point is this. You have to establish a dominant light source. Just make a decision. Where's the light coming from? Is it the top left? Directly above? That single decision is what brings order from chaos because it dictates the direction for every single highlight and shadow, making the whole scene feel unified.
And once you've picked that source, principle number 2 is simple. Be consistent. If one button is lit from the top left, every other element on that page needs to follow the exact same logic. Our brains detect inconsistency in lighting instantly, and the moment they do, the whole illusion of a cohesive 3D space just completely shatters.
Third, you have to remember that nature very rarely deals in harsh, razor-sharp edges. So embrace it. Use gradients to show how light wraps around a surface. Use soft-edged shadows to mimic that diffuse light. This is what adds that layer of nuance and realism that really separates the good from the great.
And finally, our 4th principle, acknowledge ambient light. I mean, think about it. In the real world, shadows are never pure black voids, are they? That's because light is bouncing off of everything, the walls, the floor, and it fills in those dark areas. Simulating this by using semi-transparent or even slightly colored shadows instead of pure black is that final touch that makes a design feel truly believable. Okay, we've got the principles. Now let's pop open the digital toolbox and see how we can actually apply them with today's tech.
Our first and most important tool is going to be CSS. For most day-to-day web design, this is the accessible and surprisingly powerful workhorse for all things light and shadow.
The cornerstone here is the box shadow property. You can control the position, yeah, but the blur radius, that's your key to simulating that soft penumbra. Now here's the real pro tip. Never, ever settle for a single shadow. By layering multiple box shadows, each with a slightly different blur, spread, and transparency, you can build up a depth that's incredibly rich and realistic. It's something a single flat shadow could just never achieve. Now, when CSS just isn't enough, we level up. For custom shapes that go beyond simple boxes, SVG filters give you really precise control. And for the absolute ultimate in realism, we're talking true dynamic 3D lighting in real time, well, that's where WebGL comes in. That's the frontier, letting you build entire interactive 3D scenes right in the browser.
So we have the principles and we have the tools. Let's take a look at how this all pays off in some real-world design applications.
You can actually see the evolution of this thinking just by comparing design systems. You had pure flat design, which often avoided shadows entirely for that super minimalist look. But then Google's material design came along and brought shadows back in a really systematic way, using elevation and subtle shadows to create a tactile world where you can immediately understand the layering of the interface.
A perfect practical example is e-commerce. A product image that's just floating on a white background can look, well, cheap. But add a simple, soft, realistic drop shadow, and suddenly it's grounded on a surface. It feels tangible. It feels real. And that simple touch subconsciously enhances its perceived quality and value.
So the big idea I want to leave you with is this. These principles are only becoming more important as we move toward more immersive experiences like the metaverse, and as we use new tools like AI, the ability to create believable, three-dimensional worlds is going to be a fundamental skill. The digital canvas is waiting. The question is, how will you choose to sculpt with light?